Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. A horde of rank S monsters invades the city and attacks the castle while all the warriors are on another mission. Now the future of the kingdom is in the hands of the stinky young man and his friends. In today's video, we will follow the final stories of the anime Shinka no Mi, episodes 10, 11 and 12. At Arkshell Castle, Lorna continues her interrogation. To obtain information about Origa, the girl who invaded the palace and tried to plunge the king into a terrible curse, the Valkyrie uses the most perverse tortures. Since nothing has been enough to get information out of the girl so far, Lorna decides to use her most brutal secret weapon. Origa had been stuck for a few hours without eating, so Lorna puts a delicious plate of katsudon right in front of her. She feeds herself while the girl just smells the overpowering smell of that food. Louise, Claudia and Seiichi watch everything through a window and, seeing this perversity, the young man knocks down the door and orders Lorna to stop torturing the girl like that. Louise then removes the gag and blindfold from Origa's eyes and offers her a plate of katsudon. Seiichi states that she can eat as much as she wants, and after the meal, the leader of the Valkyries repairs the necklace that the girl is wearing. She recognizes that magic item and reveals that it is known as the Necklace of Slavery. Its wearers are obliged to obey any order from whoever placed it. That is why Origa attacked the king. The girl was sent by the Kaiser Empire to eliminate Ranza. If she disobeyed his order or tried to remove the necklace, she would be electrocuted to death. In the Kaiser Empire, the king discovers that Origa has failed with her mission, and Helio states that even though the girl was unsuccessful in eliminating Ranza, she would protect the secret of his empire. To do so, the wizard would order the girl to take her own life. Outside the castle, Zakia, the leader of the royal army, wonders why he wields his sword in favor of that empire. He remembers the moment he met the man who tried to eliminate the king. The traitor introduces himself as Shin and claims that, in fact, he was the one who shot the arrow through the castle window. The man reveals that he has done this because, through the fault of their king, that nation is plunged into chaos. In addition, he intends to avenge his wife, who was of the demon race and, although she did nothing wrong, was crushed like an insect. The woman was a florist and was working in her store when suddenly two guards approached and one of them slashed her with his sword. All this thanks to the king's official announcement, which allowed anyone to exterminate the demons in his kingdom without suffering any punishment. From afar, Shin watched his wife being killed. When the soldiers left, he tried to help her, but it was too late. At that moment, he decided that he would never forgive the king and anyone who decides to serve him. Zakia states that no matter why that man wants to eliminate the king, his duty is to protect him. After saying this, the knight opens a portal through which comes out Fiftia, his magic sword. Shin launches his arrows towards the enemy, but Zakia easily manages to block the attack. However, he is surprised by an arrow that arrives soon afterwards and pierces his leg. Shin launches his most powerful attack on him, the Prison of 1,000 Arrows. However, Zakia ends them all in a single blow, the air-dominant impact. Upon witnessing the true power of the leader of the royal army, Shin recognizes that he is not yet strong enough to defeat him and decides to leave. Before running away, the man says that the next time they meet, he hopes that Zakia will no longer be a puppet of the king. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Wimberg, Seiichi tries to find a way to neutralize the effect of the slavery necklace and free Origa. He uses his ability to create magic to develop the spell of freedom and destroy the necklace. From now on, the girl is free. Upon hearing this, Origa becomes emotional and begins to cry. Cesaria runs to hug her and asks Seiichi if the girl can stay with them. Louise says that from the beginning she intended to leave the girl in the young man's hands, because Ranza did not plan to punish her for her actions. At this point, Origa feels safe to share her story. She tells how, in the Kaiser Empire, her lineage, the Beastmen, was persecuted for many years. All but the children were sent to forced labor camps, including their mother. In the following years, the children of the Beastmen received special training, and those who survived became excellent killers. After that, they were forced to become part of the exterminator squad commanded by the royal family. Since the day her collar was put on, the little girl had killed countless victims. Therefore, her hands were deeply stained with blood. However, Seiichi says that Origa will now have a chance to start over and states that the Kaiser Empire was to blame for all that, not her. He says that humans and Beastman should be treated equally and have the same right to live in freedom. The young man says that he can see Origa as his younger sister, and from then on the little girl calls him her brother. Later, Florio helps Seiichi train his magic, because, although he is very strong, the young man is not yet in full control of his powers. Even though Seiichi cannot control them very well, Florio says that the young man has made excellent progress since he started training. Just then, Louise appears and reveals that she needs to ask Seiichi for a favor. The woman tells him that the Black Paladin has sent a report reporting unusual monster activity along the borders of that country. The big problem is that the Black Paladin's army is not enough to defeat the possible invaders, so she will take the Valkyries there to help him. But before she goes, Louise asks Seiichi to protect the king while she is away. The young man accepts the mission and promises that he will protect that kingdom. A week has passed since the Valkyries left the castle and Seiichi is already able to control his magic. Suddenly, Gassel and Aris arrive at the palace accompanied by a big-nosed old man. Florio soon recognizes him and is thrilled to meet the great magician Barnabas up close. The old man asks the young man to call him only Barna, and Seiichi asks who that guy is. Florio is incredulous to realize that the young man had never heard of the great sage who mastered all types of magic. When the wizard meets with Ranza, he reveals that the Barbador Academy of Magic, in which he is the principal, where the great heroes of the Kaiser Empire were enrolled, was about to collapse. The magician tells that since the heroes from the other world arrived there, various problems have begun to occur. Upon hearing this, Seiichi already suspects that the old man is referring to his former classmates. Suddenly, a soldier enters the room and reveals that a huge horde of monsters have appeared in the nearby forest and are approaching the city. The man also says that there were about 5,000 creatures and all of them belong to the level of dungeon bosses. This meant that they would have to deal with an S-rank army. Meanwhile, the Valkyries, along with the Black Paladin's army, unite to protect the border. In fact, this was nothing more than a grand strategy of the Kaiser Empire. They forced the greatest warriors of the Wimberg Kingdom to be stranded on the border while a horde of monsters is sent to Telbert at a time when the city is defenseless. However, what they didn't count on was that Seiichi and his friends were there to defeat those creatures and protect the kingdom. Even Origa was willing to risk her life for that country, where she could live free with her new friends. Before the battle begins, other warriors appear to fight on behalf of his kingdom. Aris and Gassel were two of them. The green-haired man is the first to descend into the battlefield and is followed by the rest of the team. Seiichi and Barna stay behind and watch everything from the top of the tower. The young man is surprised to see the powers of Aris who, with the aid of her whip, is able to cut a giant monster into small pieces. Gassel then uses the power of his muscles to defeat his enemies with a single punch. Claude, the leader of the Imperial Army of Wimberg, also enters the battle and uses his sword to eliminate those monsters. Noid, the owner of the bar where Seiichi first met Ranza, also reveals his skills in battle and uses his axe to eliminate the Beast King. Now it is the turn of Saria who, exceeding all expectations, has her arms transformed and defeats her enemies with her gorilla punch. Artoria uses her ice prison magic to freeze a giant dinosaur and then destroys it with her weapon. Upon witnessing the girl's power, the magician is surprised, for that is a high-level ice spell. Even though she has no special powers, Lulun also contributes to the battle and uses her super kick to annihilate the giants. Meanwhile, Origa, due to her size, is able to pass unnoticed among the monsters and eliminate them without a trace. Barna decides to help the warriors by triggering the Tornado of Chaos. Seiichi is impressed to realize that the wizard, even using all that power, manages to control it so that his allies are not affected. Just when the war seemed to have been won, an emergency report is sent out informing that a new horde of monsters has emerged from deep in the forest, and this time they all belong to the boss category. Now, the small group of heroes is no match for those new monsters. So Seiichi tries to think of a wide-range spell to defeat the enemies. The problem is that by using this kind of magic, he would not be able to have full control and ensure that his companions would not be hit. With this in mind, the young man begins to create a new spell whose attack comes from above and has a wide range. Seiichi imagines something like the Judgment of the Gods, in which only the wicked would be punished. In this way, only the invaders were hit and their allies were spared. At this moment, the people of Wimberg can finally celebrate their victory. After the battle, Seiichi rises in level, and due to the large number of skills he acquired, they were combined together to form skills never seen before. Saria and the other girls arrive shortly afterwards and Barna invites the young man to become a teacher at his academy, because he has proven to be very powerful. The magician notes that the spell used by the young man to destroy his enemies was 100% authorial, which transcends even his abilities. Barna is only able to replicate spells that already exist, so he asks the young man to teach him how to use the power of magic creation. Seiichi says he can't give him an answer at that moment, because he promised Louise that he would take care of the kingdom until she returns to the castle. Besides, he could not leave Saria and his other companions behind. So the magician proposes that they all go with him to the academy. Saria would become a student, Artoria would be a teacher, just like him, Lulun would be a martial arts trainer, and Origa would become his assistant. Everyone agrees with the idea, and together they decide to accompany the old man to the Barbador Academy as soon as the Valkyries return to town. Since there were still a few days until they would leave Telbert, Seiichi, in consensus with the girls, decides to take each of them individually out on a date with him. First, he takes Lulun to lunch at a restaurant. The next day it is Artoria's turn. Together they watch plays and go to the movies. Finally, the day of Seiichi and Saria's date arrives. The young man is excited to go out with his wife, and while he is getting ready in his room, he is surprised by her. Saria asks if the young man would mind taking Origa with them on the date, as the girl always stayed at home. Seiichi agrees to the idea and the three of them go to the park together. While Origa is playing with her friends, the young man thanks Saria for falling in love with him and says that he loves her too. Just as they were about to kiss, Origa appears and calls Seiichi to come play ball with them. While they were having fun, a balloon flies over and announces the Shirasti painting contest, in which Mei was participating. Seiichi and Saria decide to go there to see the final result. Clay is the first to present his work and leaves the spectators a little confused by his art. Saria says that the painting looks like a beautiful giant sun. Lulun believes that the painting depicts a delicious apple, but Clay says that that painting was done as a way to externalize his passion for art. Now it is Mei's turn to present her painting. In her work, she represents the figure of the man who gave her the courage to enter that competition. The girl gives the painting the title, The Hero, and says that thanks to him, she learned the importance of facing challenges. Seiichi is embarrassed to realize that it was he who was being depicted in Mei's painting, but at the same time he feels honored by the painting. At the end of the contest, Mei's work takes first place and Seiichi goes to congratulate her. The girl thanks him for encouraging her to participate in that contest and reveals that she has been invited by one of the judges to go to Emiria, the city of the arts, to improve her skills. Seiichi congratulates her again and they say goodbye. Soon after, Louise returns to town with the Valkyries and informs Seiichi that she has learned about his trip to the Barnabas Academy. The young man asks the Valkyries to visit him at the academy, and then he and his companions say goodbye to the friends they made during their time there. Seiichi feels very grateful for having met all those people. Telbert was the first city he visited when he had no idea how the world worked, so he will cherish the memories of his days there. Now they are off on a new adventure, and Seiichi can't wait to meet his old classmates. So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.